Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are continuing on with the offensive security learning path inside of TryHackMe. This is the Still Mountain Room. This is hack into a mystery robot themed Windows machine, use Metasploit for initial access, utilize PowerShell for Windows privilege escalation, enumeration, and learn a new technique to get administrator access. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1, Introduction. In this room, you will enumerate a Windows machine, gain initial access with Metasploit, use PowerShell to further enumerate the machine, and escalate your privileges to administrator. If you don't have the right security tools and environment, deploy your own Kali Linux machine and control it in your browser with our Kali room. Please note that this machine does not respond to ping ICMP. It may take a few minutes to boot up. All right, I'm using the attack box as you can see here, and I have my nmap scan already rolling. All right, so nmap -A, and we're scanning all ports, and then this dash capital P lowercase n option is going to disable the ping option, as it says it doesn't respond to ping, so we need to disable that because we already know something's behind this particular IP address. And then you got a dash S capital T for TCP scan, complete that three-way handshake, right? And then dash capital T for option to make the scan a bit faster. And then I'm exporting the information into this file here called nmap underscore scan.txt, and then there's the IP address that we are targeting. All right, now while that's rolling up, it says, who is the employee of the month? Well, let's go ahead and navigate our way to this page here and see what we can discover. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy this out of here because we're going to need to navigate to this page. As soon as Firefox loads up, there we go. So let's go ahead and try to get here. And let's see what they have on this page. Employee of the month, and it's just a picture of a guy. All right, well, if we go and click in here, and let's just do view page source, right? Yep, there we go. View page source, you can find out some additional information here, and it looks like Bill Harper is going to be this guy's name. So it's going to plug that in here. Bill Harper. There we go. And task number 2, initial access. Let's see what they have for us. So we go ahead and close out of this. Now you have deployed the machine. Let's get an initial shell. Answer the questions below. Scan the machine with nmap. What is the other port running on a what web server is running on? So this is still going. Take a look at the other web server. What file server is running? What is the CVE number? And use Metasploit to get initial shell. All right, so let's come back as soon as this nmap scan finishes. Okay, question time. What is the other port running a web server on? And that's going to be port 8080 if we go and take a look at our scan results from the nmap scan. So if we go ahead and scroll down here, you'll see a couple of items here, and one in particular is going to be this 8080 HTTP file server, HTTPD, yada, yada, yada. All right, and it says take a look at the other web server, what file server is running, and that's going to be this file server here. And if you do a Google search on it, you will come to find out that it will be this Rigetto HTTP file server. So Rigetto HTTP file server is going to be answer to that one. You can also navigate to the actual page here and take a look at the page source information. You can see in the background here some references to that particular file server, right? It's got Rigetto in here and some other things, right? If you look through. So that's going to answer that one. And then what is the CVE number? Well, if you go back to your Google search, you can find that information. If I go back here, you can find that information here on exploit-db CVE 2014-6287. It's going to be answer that. You can also go into this particular area here. You can grab it right there. All right, that's what the number they're looking for. And it says use the Metasploit module to basically break into this machine and retrieve that flag. And to do that, all you gotta do is Google it. All right, so with that information, you can add in exploit and Metasploit into your search results, and it should come up with some information. And if you take a look at this first one here, it'll tell you how to use it. All right, so you go in here, review the information, and it tells you at the bottom here how to use it. All right, so let's go ahead and go into Metasploit, which I have already launched here. All right, And you can see I'm using exploit Windows HTTP Rigetto HFS exec yada yada yada, defaulting to Windows interpreter reverse TCP. And the first thing I did was show the options in here so I can know what I need to modify in order to make this work properly. And if we go in, we have to change this R port because remember it's running on port 8080 as we discovered earlier. So we need to change that to port 8080. And also our host needs to have the target IP information in there. Now if I scroll down to the bottom here, I've already done that. All right, as you can see there, our host set to the target machine, IP address, set our port to the target port here. And if I go back to options like so, it should be in here. So there you go. Now we're all set to go. Let me go ahead and clear all this out. And if you do run, it should launch the attack towards that machine. And it looks like it is going to be successful. You can also use like search exploit or something to look up this information on try to find that particular exploit for it. But anyway, so it looks like we have a interpreter shell in here. So if we go in, you can also do like help, right, to look at some commands and such in there, right? And we need to find this user flag. So let's go ahead and try to find that information. Let's see. It's been a while since I've been inside of here using Meterpreter shell. So, all right, first thing we're gonna do is use an ls, and I just drop in a shell, make things easier. So let's go ahead and cd into c desktop, see if there's anything in there, and let's do a dirt on that. There we go. There's a user flag. So we are going to do a type on it. Type user.txt. There you go. So there's the flag information right there. Go ahead and copy that and plug it in here, and we're going to continue on to task number 3. Now that you have an initial shell on this Windows machine as Bill, we can further enumerate the machine and escalate our privileges to root. Answer these questions below. To enumerate this machine, we'll use a PowerShell script called PowerUp. That's purpose is to evaluate a Windows machine and determine any abnormalities. PowerUp aims to be a clearinghouse of common Windows privilege escalation vectors that rely on misconfigurations. You can download the script here, right from the GitHub page. If you want to download it via the command line, be careful not to download the GitHub page instead of the raw script. Now, you can use the upload command in Metasploit to upload the script like so. So let's take a bigger look here, upload, and then the directory location of that particular script. All right. To execute this using Meterpreter, I will type load PowerShell into Meterpreter. Then I will enter PowerShell by entering PowerShell underscore shell. So let's go ahead and do that. As you can see here, I've already downloaded that particular PowerUp script in our downloads folder. So let's navigate back over to our Meterpreter session here. And let's go ahead and upload this to the target machine like so. And it says to use this, we can do load PowerShell. So let's go ahead and do that load PowerShell like that. Oop, if I could spell PowerShell like so, okay. And then we need to enter this PowerShell underscore shell. So as soon as this finishes loading up, let's do that. So PowerShell underscore shell. There we go. Now we have a PowerShell session going. Okay, and let's see here. Basically, they want us to run this particular script. So let's go ahead and do that. There's our script there. So let's do the dot backslash and then PowerUp dot ps1. All right. Now that it's loaded, let's go ahead and do invoke all checks. All right, there we go. Now it's running, doing its thing here. So we'll hit complete. Just take close attention to the can restart option that is set to true. What is the name of the service which shows up as an unquoted service path vulnerability? We have to pay attention to this can restart set to true, which you can see for this particular one here. And we're looking for this Advanced System Care Service 9. That's the one we're looking to take advantage of. So plug that one into there. It says the can restart option being true allows us to restart a service on the system. The directory to the application is also writable. This means we can replace the legitimate application with our malicious one, restart the service, which will run our infected program. Use MSF Venom to generate a reverse shell as a Windows executable. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and just copy and paste this information over like so. So Control C and then paste it in here. Let's go ahead and just clear this out since we don't need this anymore. All right, now it should generate this reverse shell called advanced.exe. Just upload your binary and replace the legitimate one, then restart the program to get a shell as root. The service showed up as being unquoted and could be exploited using this technique. However, in this case, we have exploited weak file permissions on the services file. Instead, what's the root flag? Okay, so we need to get this file onto the box and then replace our malicious file with that legitimate one. So let's go ahead and do that. Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. Okay, let's take a step back here. Now I had to generate another payload here, and this time I'm just going to name it this ASC service.exe, the same file name, so make things a lot easier than just naming it advanced.exe. But anyway, so I generated this new payload, as you can see there, and I had uploaded it onto the target machine. I had some technical issues with the target machine, so I had to kill it and then start it up again. But anyway, so once I did that, got back into my interpreter session, went in, and I had to stop this service, right? Because I want to replace this file. I had to stop it first. So that's what I did. I went back in, uploaded my new malicious payload with the same file name onto this particular machine here in the same location, dropped down into a shell session, as you can see here, and now I'm going to start this service up again. Before I do that, I went over and started up a netcat listener. As you can see, there, it's running on 4443. Now let's go ahead and start the service up. All right, it says it's starting. Did not report error. Looks good, and it looks like it went through finally. All right, now it says we need to find the root flag. So there, and do a dir cd into probably desktop. All right, there's the flag, and let's go ahead and do a type on it, root.txt, and there's the flag contents. There we go. So go ahead and grab that and paste it over like so. What is that? Weird. Anyway, so that's the end of task number 3 here. One last thing before we go. This article from Bleeping Computer specifically talks about an attack targeting HFS servers to drop malware in Monero miners. I'm not going to get into it on this video, but I'll have the link in the description if you want to check that out. As we just saw in that CTF-like room, Still Mountain, we took advantage of exploiting this HFS file server from Rigetto. So be sure to check this out if you're interested. Task 4, access and escalation without Metasploit. Now let's complete this room without the use of Metasploit. Now feel free to go through this if you want to. Basically, this is just going to take you through the manual exploitation method of exploiting that target box. All right, you're going to go through and you're going to look up the CD again. You're going to go and find that particular exploit on exploitdb, download it, make modifications to the IP address, to the port, start up a netcat listener, all that good stuff. So be sure to check this out if you're interested. I'm not going to go through this since we've already exploited this box. All right. And go down further. It says you'll need to run the exploit twice. So be sure to just follow these instructions here. So the first time we'll pull the netcat binary onto the system. The second time we'll execute our payload to get a callback. And you can use PowerShell -C option if you want to launch WinPeas. All right, WinPeas is just another tool that you can use to enumerate possible exploitation pathways on the target box. And you can go through and take a look at this other additional information that I've listed out here. It says what PowerShell-C command could you use to run manually to find the service name, and then it's going to be PowerShell-C, and then in double quotes, it's going to be get service, get dash service, right? It says escalate to administrator, generates payload using MSF Venom to pull the system using PowerShell, which is already done. Basically, you're going to do the same steps, except you're not going to use Metasploit to launch the exploit auto magically, right? You're going to do it manually using that Python file from exploit.db. And once you do all that, you're going to once again do the stop that particular service and then start it again, and it should get a callback to your listener they have set up with netcats. So I'm just going to hit complete here and finish out this particular room. All right. Now, obviously, this was CTF-like room, but as with anything, if you get onto like a Windows box and stuff, you may want to set up some persistent mechanisms, i.e., adding a user for yourself so you can get back into the box or whatever. All right, but anyway, wraps up this video. If you found this video of value, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch, and I will see you later.